This is your reality check.
Hi everyone, and welcome to The Reality Check, the Canadian show that explores a wide range of controversies and curiosities using science and critical thinking. I'm your host, Darren McKee, and with me, as usual, is Adam Gardner.
What's up, Cuboids?
We have a great show for you today. I'm going to give you a little book review of the book Determine by Robert Sapolsky. Free will and whatnot. You know, a topic I've spent some time with.
Cool.
But first, Adam, when is a soap not a soap?
A few shows ago, I talked about laundry, and I mentioned that things improved when we upgraded from soap to detergents for washing clothes. It's confusing, but there is actually a difference between many cleaning products, which are perhaps sometimes thought of or even referred to as soap for the sake of convenience. And that includes in this own segment, I might say things like dish soap when it's not soap. I first went down this rabbit hole when I saw a funny meme online. So there's probably a lot of different versions. I don't know if the particular one I saw recently is the one I'm going to refer to here. But basically, here's how one of these similar memes read. And I quote, "My BF," that's shorthand for boyfriend, "used to use Dawn dish soap as body wash. And he said, if it's good enough to clean ducks, it's good enough to clean me."
Doubling down.
Yeah, so I thought this was hilarious. So basically, some of the dish soap bottles, like Dawn, they actually have a picture of a baby duck on the bottle. I recall this commercial from back in the day where they claimed that they had used Dawn dish soap to clean some baby ducks after an oil spill. So this is sort of two claims in one. One being that it is gentle enough for a baby duck, so feasibly gentle enough for your hands or your body, and also that it's tough on grease, in this case oil, and able to clean that away. So what's going on here?
So you're saying if there's a duckling and an oil spill, you want this type of cleansing product?
I want Dawn cleansing product. Apparently, that's like a real thing. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a bit. So am I right to even call it dish soap? So the Dawn bottle with the baby duck on it refers to it as a dishwashing liquid, though some of the Dawn advertisements refer to it as dish soap, sort of colloquially. So I checked the products I have in my kitchen. One is called dish liquid. The other is called a dishwashing liquid. So they don't use the term soap, at least on the label. This also reminds me of this old commercial I used to watch where there was a teenager that had bad skin. I don't remember. I couldn't find the specific commercial, so I'm recalling from memory. There's a teenager that has bad skin, and he's told that soap is for your car. Use whatever the product was. I don't remember. For your face. What? So I was like, I'm pretty sure the multi-purpose cleaner that I used to wash my car isn't actually soap, though I'm not sure what the car wash uses. So I'm not really sure that's even relevant. It's very weird.
Adam rejects the premise.
Yeah.
Soap is not for your car.
Yeah. Is soap even good for my car? Like, I don't know. Do I want soap scum on my car? I don't know. So let's get to the basics. What is soap? So this one I vaguely remembered from 10th grade science class. So soap isn't a single molecule, but rather it's a type of molecule with certain properties. It's a salt that is a nonpolar hydrocarbon molecule with a polar head. That polar end is a long aliphatic chain, such as carboxylate. This head is hydrophilic, meaning that it likes water. It's attracted to water. And the other end is hydrophobic, meaning it doesn't like water. It is repulsed by water. The hydrophobic end binds to dirt, grease, oil, potentially other things. The molecules themselves are surfactants, meaning that they can decrease the surface tension between two materials. In this case, one of those materials is water. The other is the dirt, the grease, the oil, or whatever it is you're trying to remove. So the one end sticks to the oil or the grease or whatever. The other end likes water, so it will bind to any water that's sort of rinsing that thing. So it kind of washes away the dirt. So you'll notice, like, if you've got grease on your hands, you're just running water over it. It's not doing anything. You put soap, it goes away, right?
Yeah,
but it goes away with the water.
It's not doing anything.
Yeah. Well, it's probably doing something, but it's just like, it's not doing much.
Yeah.
Soap also kills microorganisms by disorganizing their membranes, which can then be rinsed away due to the hydrophilic end of the molecule. It takes a while for that disorganizing to happen, which is why you get these like, lather your hands for 2 minutes or whatever. You gotta do it a while.
I think it's like 30 seconds, just to be clear.
Yeah, I don't think it's a full 2 minutes, but yes, it's a bit of time. So washing your hands with soap does a much better job than just water. It makes all the undesirable things easier to rinse away. More specifically, it makes some specific things easier to wash away if the soap molecule happens to attach to them. So you might find there's some things like, this is just not washing away. Like, this is just not washing away in water. It's not washing away in soap. It's like soap's not, it's just not working because it's not reducing the surface tension with that particular substance.
You need like a paper towel to wipe it.
Yeah. Soaps are also good for washing hands specifically because they're gentle on your skin and they're usually biodegradable. So great. But what are these other things? Are they soaps? Why can't we just use soap? Why are they better? Why are they worse? What's the deal?
What's the deal?
Dish soap, laundry soap, body soap, car soap, hair soap. Okay, no one really calls shampoo hair soap, but you get the point.
They should start.
So why don't we just use soap on everything or use whatever we use on everything else instead of using soap? So just rubbing a big bar of soap all over my car, like that Acme commercial or whatever suggested, probably doesn't make much sense, but you could have liquid soap or something like that. So a lot of these are actually detergents. A detergent is not a soap, but it is also a surfactant. And this is what is used usually in laundry soap. Dish soap is also a different type of detergent. So detergent is also a non-polar hydrocarbon molecule, has a polar head, but that polar end is a long alkyl chain that is capped with a sultonate group. Okay, so I'm just saying chemical names here, but what does this even mean? So the end effect is that a detergent is more stable and less reactive in hard water. So there's impurities in hard water, calcium and other minerals, and soap will bind to those and leave soap scum. Detergent will not. So because it's a surfactant, it lowers the surface tension between the water and a solid. A detergent doesn't create soap scum in hard water, like I said. And this washes away more easily. So the types that we use are typically more potent than just soaps, which helps for soiled clothing. It can remove some stains, which soap alone wouldn't be able to tackle. So these molecules are just better at attaching to certain things sometimes. They are also generally not biodegradable. Detergents are also not as gentle on skin as soaps. So this is why Ash's mom gives him rubber gloves in the first episode of the Pokemon anime, which he ends up using to hold his Pikachu.
And why we usually don't shower with detergent.
Usually we don't, no. So then I thought maybe detergent doesn't foam. Maybe that's one of the difference. I remember seeing something which said basically that if someone's soap or shampoo didn't foam, they felt it wasn't working. So sometimes they put foaming in the product just because otherwise you won't be satisfied with it.
It's true. This extra foamy lather gives the illusion that it's doing more than it might be.
Mm-hmm. But it's a bit more complicated than that, as a surfactant, which both soap and detergents are, will break the surface tension between the dirty thing and the water, has a side effect of making bubbles. This happens because of the fact that these molecules have a hydrophilic and hydrophobic end. So one end likes the water, the other does not. A bunch of these molecules, they kind of get aligned in the same way. The hydrophilic part touches the water and the other part just basically sticks away. Then you get water that can end up on the hydrophobic side, which doesn't like water. On top of that layer of water, there's another layer of these molecules which line up again on the part facing the water. It's a little complicated to explain, but basically this ends up making this 3 layers, which is the wall of a bubble, and it extends around in 3 dimensions to make, sort of a sphere or a half sphere on top of the water or something like that. This has a side effect of foaming up, which actually helps distribute the soap or detergent molecules across the garment, across your hands, across your dishes, or whatever you're trying to clean, your car or whatever. So the bubbles are a side effect of this molecule that is just going to happen naturally. And it helps. So it's not like they need to add bubbles. The bubbles kind of need to be there. But sometimes they can put more bubbles if you think it's better.
Well, you're saying the bubbles are an indication of effectiveness.
Yes.
So maybe not the amount of bubbles we might want.
Right.
Versus the amount of bubbles that are necessary to do the job.
That's right. There are also high foam and low foam detergents. So a high foam detergent is more effective at removing dirt, but it's harder to rinse out. A low foam detergent is more environmentally friendly and can clean with less water because there isn't as much need for rinsing. So if you have a high efficiency washing machine, for example, it'll work better with a low foam detergent. So if you have a detergent that's specifically billed as being better for a high efficiency machine, it is probably low foam. Dishwashing liquid is usually a high foaming detergent. So the type used for washing dishes in a sink is specifically a type with low skin irritation. And this is why you'll also see images of hands or baby ducks or something like that on the bottle. So I remember an ad campaign for one of these products. It was talked about being soft on hands, tough on dishes, tough on grease, something like that. You often see that kind of writing on the bottles. Certainly, I don't find my hands getting terribly irritated when I clean dishes in the sink. But when I clean my washroom or something like that, I find that irritates my skin. That's probably the bleach or something like that. But it's just like some products are made to be better on your hands than others. So what's going on with the ducks? Ducks aren't people, and they don't have the same skin as your hands.
What?
They have feathers. You also don't have oil spewing from the Earth's core onto your dishes. So, is it really relevant that a dishwashing liquid is good at cleaning oil and not hurting a small baby animal with feathers? Probably not. But if it's generally non-irritating to a duck, it's probably an indication that it may also be safe for a human. This is, after all, the reason for which we, test beauty products and such on animals. At least they used to do this until kids got really upset about it in the 80s. I don't know if they still do that, but that was like a big thing when I was a kid, like stop the animal testing. But do they actually use this stuff on baby ducks? Tri-State Bird Rescue and Research rehabilitates and rescues wild birds. In 1977, they cleaned up an oil spill and weren't prepared to fight the oil. As a result, many animals died. And they've since been using Dawn to clean animals. So the Dawn dish soap that you would use in your dishes, in your sink. Similarly, the SeaWorld San Diego Rescue has been using Dawn since 1989 when they used it to clean up from the Exxon Valdez oil spill. They aren't just cleaning a duck like it was a dirty casserole. They feed the bird and give it fluids and let it rest for a few days. Then they rinse it very carefully with warm water mixed with a bit of detergent, the Dawn detergent, for up to an hour.
Where does that water go? Does it have oil in it?
Oh, I don't know how they dispose of the water afterwards.
Treated somehow.
Mm-hmm. So why use Dawn over other detergents? It isn't really clear since the exact proportions of ingredients is secret, right? It's like a Dawn company secret. While other detergents advertise being soft on hands and tough on grease, those who do bird rescues, they use Dawn. So then they may just be used to it. I can't comment one way or another on whether other types of detergent, dish soap would work well, but perhaps there is a reason that it works better on ducks and birds for these rescues than others. Maybe they have tried others and they didn't work as well, or maybe it's just the one they happen to use. I imagine one would be able to specifically formulate a detergent which is even more effective at cleaning birds and, safer on birds and tougher on the oil than something which was designed for dishes. But if this product does the job, it may be just best not to mess with what works. It's probably cheaper for them just to be able to buy this at the grocery store than if they actually went out of their way to specifically formulate something and have some predatory market where they really charge a lot because they know that these bird rescue organizations have a lot of money to spend on it.
Designed specifically for birds.
Yeah. So the more direct to consumer a product is, and the more they can sell it in volume, definitely the price goes way down. So now is the more important question: if it's good enough for the baby ducks, is it good enough for a human to use in the shower? More importantly, what even is in body wash, and does that compare? So liquid soaps can be an actual type of soap, or they may be a non-soap detergent. These are essentially doing the same thing as cleaning oil, grease, or dirt with a molecule which reduces the surface tension and rinses away. The body wash itself is usually mixed with water, so as a product, it is less concentrated. But ultimately, the big difference is that that certain stuff is added to a body wash to help your skin. So they'll have a moisturizer or something like this to help your skin. They can also tweak the pH of a body wash or a liquid hand soap so that it won't dry your skin. So this is a problem if you wash even a lot with sort of a natural soap.
Yeah, I think the Dove stuff I use is more neutral as a pH, which is less harsh apparently.
Yeah. So what about shampoo? Again, the job of shampoo is to clean your scalp and hair by removing dirt and oil, right? It's a surfactant like soap and like detergents, and it acts in the same basic way. But they do add stuff to shampoo to do things like moisturize your hair, add volume, all sorts of things like that. So like a body wash, there's water in the mix, and there are other ingredients in there to help with your hair. So using soap to clean your hair would clean the dirt, but it might leave your hair dry and brittle. And there's also conditioner. I don't use conditioner personally. I have short hair. It's pretty thin. But, women and people with longer hair often use conditioners. It moisturizes hair using oils, emollients, silicones, cationic surfactants. I'm not going to get in all of these, but in my experience, basically, use it on my daughter's hair. It makes the hair easier to untangle. It makes it easier to run a comb or brush through it. But my hair is pretty short and simple, so don't take hair care advice from me. If you're a woman with beautiful hair, you probably have a good idea how to take care of it. All right, so can you use dish soap in the shower? I know this is what everyone wants to know. Can I save money if I happen to buy dish soap in sale? I buy a big crate of it? I don't know. I've seen some sources saying that the dish soap will irritate your skin, but dish soap is made to be soft on your hands.
Oh.
Well, dish soap like hand soap or body wash is formulated to be easier on your hands. But dish soap is designed to be a harsher cleaner than a body wash because your pots and pans are probably dirtier than your body, dirtier than the impurities and the dirt and stuff that's on your body. You aren't meant to be soaking in dish soap for long periods of time, though those baby ducks, they have it on them for an hour, but it's a dilute, it's dilute mix of that, and it's pretty dire for them. It's like mild irritant is probably better than having a bunch of oil on you. It also won't have the same moisturizing properties as body wash, so if you have a healthy skin, you might be okay, but if your skin is particularly dry or oily, dish soap may not be the best option, might not be a good idea. But what about using dish soap instead of shampoo? Again, it'll clean the dirt. It might not be great for your hair. So like when you're using normal soap on your hair, it could leave your hair dry, brittle, and damaged. So I did see some people saying that they used dish soap to strip the coloring out of their hair. So if you happen to have your hair dyed, that could be something you use. They probably have products that are made specifically for that. I don't know. I've never dyed my hair. Soap, detergent, dish soap, hand soap, body wash, shampoo, conditioner. What's someone to do? Well, the easiest thing to do is just use the products which are made for a certain use, and maybe whatever. That makes you a bit of a mindless consumer. Ultimately, they all rely on similar chemical processes to break up grease, oil, dirt, and generally reduce surface tension so that these things can be rinsed away easily. You may in a pinch have success changing some of these, but I would be careful not to, for example, use anything but laundry detergent in a washing machine, dishwashing liquid in a dishwasher, or use any of those machine-specific products on your skin. Those are not meant to be used against skin, so they're probably not very good at it. Of the various products which are basically meant to be in touch with your skin, you can probably mix and match those with a pinch, but don't be surprised if they leave your skin or hair a bit dry or irritated as a result. Be a man. Buy that all-in-one body wash, shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, ice cream sundae topping in the shower, and leave Dawn for the baby ducks.
That's a very funny ending, Adam. And I generally agree. Well, I think there is sometimes a lot of marketing involved in products that are fundamentally the same. In this world, there's also people who are paid a lot of money to have a 1% to 2% difference in one product compared to another one because it's supposed to achieve one outcome versus another one. So maybe when you're looking at different shampoos, they don't do that much of the same brand. But if you're comparing, say, shampoo to dish soap to detergent, yes, these are different types of things that are trying to achieve different goals. So I think, use the generally recommended stuff for the thing you're trying to do and experiment a bit if you find something you like or don't like.
Yeah, if you want to feel like a baby duckling.
Adam's segment was for those determined to get clean. Well, mine is just about being determined, in the sense of a book by Robert Sapolsky. Yes, there's my segue. I thought this book, all about free will, by the way, is an excellent exploration of the many ways that our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors exist due to events that came before. Due to events that came before. Due to repeat. You get the idea. And thus, we do not have free will. It was also a pleasant listen. He does a good job. Sapolsky marshals a mountain of evidence from neuroscience and behavioral genetics and various other fields to show how, and thus approximate why, we do the things we do. In many ways, luck swallows all. And by this I mean that if you keep poking at something, you could say, well, that's due to luck. Like, I was due to hard work. Well, why do you have hard work or feel you're capable of hard work or engage in hard work? Well, because of these other things. And why do you have those things? Personality traits or dispositions. And why do you have those things? Like, I guess I got lucky somewhere. Or someone did at some point in human history, right?
The genetic lottery is a big one.
Yes, genetic lottery, environmental lottery, and all the other lotteries. Now, I already believe that we cannot make choices counter to the causal nature of the world, and that people cannot do otherwise. So I was listening less to be convinced than to see how he makes his arguments. Embracing determinism really is a radical reinterpretation of reality if one tries to be consistent. Sapolsky admits it's hard for him to do most of the time, but we should still try. Personally, I find it greatly increases my compassion for others and sometimes myself. if you can onboard the ideas of there's a causal fabric of the universe and it stretches back in time and therefore you can't do otherwise, you can perhaps have a greater understanding and sympathy for yourself, for others. Like, okay, that person who did the wrong thing, they couldn't do otherwise, and where they couldn't help themselves, so to speak. Now, this has to be done delicately because, if someone's doing something bad or negative for the world, you still want to have that dealt with in an accountability sense. Yep. But it removes some of that moral incendiary feeling that is perhaps not entirely justified.
It's not about good and evil. It's just, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I think the latter half of the book was a bit meandering, yet the content was still interesting. For example, Sapolsky could have done a better job explaining how historical analysis of epilepsy and schizophrenia related to the thesis of the book, but it was informative to hear about how the conditions have been understood or misunderstood in the past. Satan or bad mothering. Now, this still occurs in different places on Earth, but a lot of the world has moved on with a neurological or germ theory of disease, and it's just, once again, a reminder of how terrible the past was. A woman with epilepsy was pregnant? Well, the only thing you had to do was bury her alive.
Oh.
Yeah, this is what they did in the 1600s in Scotland.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, really, when I said bad mothering, I was like, oh, a woman is reading too many novels. That's why she's suffering from schizophrenia. It's too excitable. It's just absolutely ridiculous stuff going on. And not that long ago, too, right? To be fair, Sapolsky is making the point that a modern neuroscience understanding enables more insight and compassion into such conditions, and therefore why people do what they do, but I wanted it to be tighter and more thorough. He also acknowledges that the belief in no free will would lead to a world without blame and praise, which is very unlikely to happen. But what I wanted was something a bit more nuanced regarding when praise and blame are likely highly useful, such as during childhood. Oh. It's hard to imagine how an emerging self could develop if it didn't receive the shortcuts of praise and blame and had to contend with something like, well, it's not ultimately your fault. We will hold you accountable, but not morally responsible. For although you are a caused being, you are also a causal agent. Adam, would that work with your kids?
I don't know. Whatever I'm doing isn't working. So maybe I'll try it.
that would barely work with adults, right?
Yeah.
So I think I chose the words there very carefully, and I think that's correct, but that's very confusing to most humans.
Absolutely.
The book Determined rightly calls out Dennett's erroneous ideas that luck evens out during a lifetime. So the logic here is that Dennett, I think, was seeing life as like a marathon or even an ultra marathon of sorts, an ultra marathon, that if someone seems to have an advantage of a little bit at one point, given there's so many years and so many decades of life, things kind of even out. Right? So it's not going to make such a big deal. But it's clearly not the case for many people that are born into bad circumstances or with bad genetics. If your prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop well during childhood, things are unlikely to even out for you, even if you get some decent breaks later. And Sapolsky does a great job with all the neuroscience. Like, yes, you can see at a very young age, not just 6 years, not just 6 months, but like sometimes 1 month, the brain is starting to develop differently of a child that's suffering from one thing or another, or a parent that's gone through one thing or another, and it's just hard to come back from that. That said, because I think it's important to have someone really think through why they may be concerned with determinism, a lot of sort of false bugaboos about, I think it would be best if people started with Dennett's Elbow Room book, and then read Sapolsky's book, and then jumping to Sam Harris's Free Will book if either of these other books are too much. Similarly, Sapolsky largely agrees with Dennett, just not on terminology. I know sometimes these authors make a big deal, like, well, he says there's free will and I say we don't, but the underlying phenomena you generally both agree on. So, for example, one could say that love doesn't exist because it's really, in quotes, a bunch of neurotransmitters and other things. But one could also say that of course love exists. It's just not what you thought it was. These two approaches describe a lot of the free will debate among sciencey people. In summary, I thought Determined was a solid book, and I recommend it. Just to briefly expand on the love thing, I was mentioning that because I see it as a key aspect of Dennett's understanding of free will. Dennett will say there is free will, and someone like Sapolsky or Harris will say, well, of course there isn't. And that's fine, which sounds like they disagree, but when you talk to them about what they mean by the phenomena, they fully agree. They think there's causality. They don't think there's supernatural stuff going on. They think you're part of a causal fabric, push-pull causation. Dennett's talked about this for decades. So well, what is this disagreement then? It's about naming. It's not necessarily about meaning, semantics, but about nomenclature, terminology, which then relates to other things about whether, people might be happy or sad if they learn that they have free will or don't, right? And I was critical because Sam Harris recently had Sapolsky on, and they were saying, well, I know Dennett seems too concerned about all this stuff. But that very episode by Sam Harris started with a warning saying like, well, I don't know, but people seem to get all discombobulated about this topic of free will. So, just be careful about that. Well, if you know this, your own audience, like Sam Harris's aren't the average people. And then clearly there's something going on. Now, Sapolsky does review a mountain of evidence and some meta-analyses. And it seems like, of course, a lot of it depends on how you word the question and convince people they don't have free will or not and so on. And it may not do much at all, like in terms of causing problems. But it does seem to discombobulate people. When I talk to people about this, it is very displeasing. It's very confusing. People do not seem to react well to this topic compared to something else, which is clearly less overt and hostile.
Well, I kind of do hear this idea that like if people didn't believe that they have free will, it would cause them all sorts of like existential issues. But of the people I know that don't believe in free will, I don't see any problems with the way they navigate the world. I don't see some lack of motivation. They still like get out of bed in the morning. So like I understand the concern, but I just don't see the behavior.
Fair. Now, you could say, one argument, again, being a devil's advocate here, that they haven't actually onboarded the idea that they don't have free will, right? Or they're kind of playing games. And I would say, like, yes, we don't have free will, but it's useful to act as if you do have it. Yes. Until the world is revealed to you. There's that wonderful line, quoting The Last Samurai here. Do you believe in destiny? No, but I believe a man does what he can until his destiny is revealed to him.
It's a great movie.
It's a good line. And this is like, well, the openness, because I've said this before, our ignorance is our freedom, that because we can't anticipate the future, even though it is a causal event, we act as if things are open. And then in hindsight, this is different than the hindsight bias, that you can see that things had to be that way, at least in the certain interpretation of our universe, right? Which is, this is one sort of causal thread, how it happened. All that to say is that I'm fine with a scientific understanding of the world, but you have to meet people where they are. And so for someone to say love doesn't exist, and there are some people who are eliminativists regarding these sorts of things, well, it's oxytocin and it's dopamine and it's serotonin in these situations, these behavioral things, and there's no real love. That's a fanciful thing for poets and movies and so on, rom-coms. Like, yes, but you could also say that's what love is. And Dennett has repeatedly taken the approach of, yes, but that's not what you think it is. Similarly, consciousness exists. It's just not what you think it is. If love exists, it's just not what you think it is. Free will exists, just not what you think it is. It's like a recurring theme. Yes. And that is a move to make if you see the world in a very sciencey way, which he does. And so I'm fine having a longer exploration of the topic to say like, well, do we agree on the phenomena here? Do we think of causality? Is this what we're talking about? Right. And when someone deviates on that, then there's something more to disagree or to talk about. It's just important to know what you're actually disagreeing about, if you're disagreeing about anything at all, right? You may think you're disagreeing about the underlying thing, and you're just talking about what you call it. And maybe that's relevant, and maybe it isn't, but it's useful to figure that out.
It's an interesting idea, and I think, you can believe something without, like, it's like you believe it, but you don't act like you believe it. And religious beliefs are similar to that. I believe if I die, I'm going to go to heaven, but I still try not to die. And it's very hard to like get around that programming. Or maybe I can like rationally convince myself I live in a simulation, but maybe I won't feel it. Or I feel like I think like AI is this like existential risk, but I don't feel it. I rationally believe it, and I come to the conclusion. So I am, I guess, in a logical way, worried about it, but I don't feel the worry like I would about some more visceral things.
Yes, I know what you mean. Hey, I even wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
Do I feel it? Not all the time. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Brains.
That doesn't mean it's not real, but it's, you don't always feel in the same way.
Thanks for joining us once again, listeners. Adam gave us a sparkling clean segment about soap and surfactants. I hope you are all the cleaner for it. And I talked to you about Robert Sapolsky's book, Determined, about free will. Until next time, think better to act better.
Peace out, cuboids.
For show notes or to discuss this episode, visit our Facebook page and website at trcpodcast.com. For general inquiries or to send a topic or parody suggestion, email info@trcpodcast.com. Help support the show by leaving a review on iTunes and liking us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at @TRC_podcast.
Outtakes.
And for our listeners who've endured this, there's been background music playing the entire episode because we're recording near our Canada Day and there are rehearsals somewhat close to where I live, but loud enough that it's been an issue. Thank you, Adam, for editing, and hopefully that levels balance out in the right way.
Hopefully it doesn't come through, and maybe you'll hear a bit of it in the outtakes, because I think we're going to use some of that crap in the outtakes.
Well, if you're interested in the music, it's like a freebie, right?
It's great if you're not doing a podcast.
What are the odds anyone around us is also doing a podcast?
I don't know. This apartment building's pretty dense. I'd say like that can hear this music. I'd say there are 3 other people doing a podcast.
Well, that's funny.
Oh man, this drum guy is just like really loving his job. Oh.
I think these are funny outtakes.
Maybe.
So you should splice it together.
Oh, here's our 7.5 minute outtake reel. Oh, we're gonna getting a lot of use out of that bikehorn.mp3 or whatever we call it. There's a bunch of other Pokemon stuff. I don't need to talk about that. Okay.
Sorry.
Well, I don't know why. Just like, oh yeah, Ash never cleans his clothes,
Adam,
whatever.
you're delightful sometimes.
Just like I don't need to get
You wrote
into
it all out. You're like, maybe this will be relevant.
We don't talk about cross-dressing Ash.
I think
it's not like it's a sidebar.
Drums are back.
Yeah, I know this. Drums. I hate you, drums. I hate you, whatever band you are. You ruined my life. We're doing our sound. Happy Canada Day sound check day to everyone who's out there listening and trying to record a podcast. And leave Dawn for the baby ducks.
Or ducklings, as we say.
That's right. Oh yeah, I kept saying baby ducks. That's the word for that. I don't know why. Baby duck's like a kind of alcohol, right?
It's a cute
phrase. I don't know.
Okay, so look out. You finished your segment. I should have jumped in at the end.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just asking you.
Yeah.